Today we are going to talk about employee training and development. There is a very famous Chinese proverb which says, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. In very crisp and clear language, it means that the more we tell people, there is a chance that they will forget. Even if they see, they will probably remember, but they will you know soon start forgetting what they have seen. But when they start doing it with their own hands, when they get involved in it, they not only understand but they remember it for a very long time. And that kind of underlines the importance of employee training, because employee training is all about getting people involved, getting people to do things, learn by doing the things, learning by doing. And hence, that kind of creates a much better understanding of what the job is and what they're expected to do, what their roles are, and they're being able to perform better for a very long time. Now, training is well known in terms of that it enhances individual and organizational performance. It kind of not only improves their performance, but because it kind of is a like a kind of contributes to their career and overall growth, it kind of also facilitates employee retention and progression. So it kind of creates an internal kind of a kind of a talent pool, and as well as also of a talent pipeline through which people can be promoted, and we can fill various positions internally as well. And this also kind of creates a career progression path for for the employees, and that again in turn acts as a motivator and a retention tool. uh, but most importantly, training enables business strategy implementation. Any business strategy that an organization formulates is incomplete without having training as a part of the strategy. So, supposedly, a company decides to go big on artificial intelligence in the next 5 years. It will need to go back to see whether its employees are capable of uh, handling or understanding the new technology, and whether they are capable of dealing with it, working with it, so that the organization can achieve what it wants to achieve in the next 5 or 10 years. So training definitely enables a strategy implementation, and especially in the light of the new technologies and the disruptive technologies that we see around these days, and the speed with which new technologies come and go, training becomes an essential part of any organization's human resource management manual. Now, there is a difference between training and development, because this is kind of a basic session on understanding employee training and development. So it's very important to also understand these basic terms, although these terms at times might be interchangeably used, but they don't mean the same. Training is an opportunity for learning job specific competencies. So training helps you to understand what kind of knowledge you need for the job, what kind of skills that are required for the job, and what kind of general professional attitude is required for that particular job. And training also is an one-off opportunity, which means training always has a start and an end date. So and training usually kind of uh, has kind of deliverable linked with it, a specific deliverable that every training will provide the trainees. Development, on the other hand, is a lifelong process, which means development starts from the time we come on this planet, not only when we join an organization, but from the time we come on this planet. And development pretty much continues till the time we exist. So there is no end date to any development, and every training contributes to the development. But then development is not only dependent on training, but development is a result or sum total of training or experiences that we gain, the education that is provided to us. So it's a sum total of many formal and informal learning experiences, training being one of them. So that's kind of essentially how we differentiate training and development. Similarly, training and education don't mean the same. whereas training is an opportunity for learning job specific competencies. Education is an opportunity for learning general competencies related to one's professional field. So once we are in university and doing, say, engineering in, say, electronics and communication, or you are doing your master's in business administration, or you are doing your, English literature honors, you are basically trying to, learn certain knowledge, skills, and professional attitude regarding or related to the professional career that you're going to choose in the future. But it's not really related to any one specific job, whereas training, is related to one specific job that you are going to do and kind of developing your competencies for that particular job. So this is kind of how we differentiate training and education. We use the term competency just now, so just to make it very clear, competency is a broad grouping of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that is required by the person to be successful at a particular job, which might have number of tasks associated with it. And so there could be generic competencies or there could be specific competencies. Generic competencies mostly will be competencies that you would require working in an organization, whereas specific competencies would be specifically linked to your particular job in that particular organization. And we also use the term of competency gap. So competency is required for the job, and when we match it with the competency or that the person already has, if they don't match, then there is a gap which we call as competency gap. And competency gap essentially shows that need for training, which means training is required to bridge that gap, to fill that gap, and plug in those knowledge and skills so that the competency of the person can perfectly match with the competency that is required for the job. Now, in terms of training, how we provide training or how we conceptualize training, how we plan training, we call this whole process as the instructional design or instructional system design model, which kind of is five-stage model, which kind of starts with assessing the needs, where we try to understand the training needs. And again, this stage is very important because this has various names. We can call this assessing needs, or it can be called training need analysis, or in short TNA. It can also be called as training need assessment or training need identification. All mean the same. It's essentially a diagnostic stage where we are trying to determine the training needs of our employees. Why is it important? It is important because it kind of helps you to direct your resources, both monetary and the physical and the human resources, towards something specific which your employees require, rather than spending that into training that may not be required by your employees, or giving those employees training who have already undergone similar kind of training before. So this kind of is a diagnostic stage and helps in better utilization of the resources that are allocated for the training. And it can be done at an organizational level. It can be done at more operational level, which is at a job level, and it can be also be done at a individual person level. When we say organizational analysis, it's kind of as assessing training needs that are required by the person to be fit in that particular organization. But when we say operational level, it is specifically those training required for the person to be good at his or her job. But then people may come from different backgrounds, and although there are maybe three people working in the same role, they might have different experiences, they might have different backgrounds, and hence they essentially may not require all the training that is required for that particular job, although they are doing the same job, because some of them might have already done certain kind of training before. So that's at the person level or the individual level that we determine the training needs. The next stage is in terms of designing, where we kind of do the develop a blueprint of the training program. Each training programs kind of plans are prepared, and we plan for each and every small thing: what will be trained, what will be the deliverables, what will be the duration, when will be offer the training, who will be the trainer, whether we'll have an external trainer or internal trainer, what will be the budget of the training, what will be the mode of the training, what kind of technology we will use in the training. All these are planned at the design stage. The next stage is development, where we start developing our training tools, our educational tools, or whatever, or even the trainer. We start developing the trainer, which we call as the training the trainer or train the trainer. So we develop all the different resources that are required for the training. And this is followed by the next stage, which is deliver or implementation, where we actually deliver the training, where we provide training to our employees, followed by an evaluation stage and feedback stage, where we evaluate how good uh, our training program was, how effective it was, how much it was able to actually improve the knowledge and skills of our employees. So we will discuss in the coming slides one of the most common training evaluation models that we use, which is the Kirkpatrick model, and what are the different stages of that training model. Uh, Now, moving forward, uh, as I said, how do we do the assessment of needs, training needs? We already said that training need assessment could be done at three different levels, but then for each level we need to start gathering data. Those data may come from the existing employee records or individual interviews of with the employees or the supervisors, group interviews with a set of employees and the supervisors together. We might also administer questionnaire. Performance tests can also be administered to see where the employees are lacking, what kind of performance gaps exist, what kind of competency gaps exist, and how they can be plugged. We can also do some kind of written tests to determine again the knowledge level of our employees and what kind of gaps exist. We also have some concept of assessment centers, where we might put the employees and we try to assess what kind of potential they have and what kind of skills they have and what are the skills that will be required for them to be successful in the future. We can also do job observation, and through job observation we try to understand how the employees are doing their job, where are they lacking, what are they really good at, what are they not good at, where they do they need to improve, and how training can contribute into that. We can also do collection of critical incidents. Those critical incidents in terms means that certain very important events during the work, which kind of reflects the level of understanding of the employee. For instance, supposedly there's a shop floor and suddenly there is an accident and there is an injured worker. So what do the other workers do at that time? What does the supervisor do at that time? Do they respond properly? Do they know how to deal with the accident? Do they know how to cater to the injured employee? Do they know how to make secure the place? Do they know how to keep other employees safe? So all these critical incidents data could also be very important in understanding what kind of training, in this case, of course, safety training would be required by the employees. Of course, one of the most common ways of understanding training need is to do job analysis, which is basically collection of large amounts of data regarding the job. And that kind of tells us really what the job is all about, and hence what kind of knowledge, skills, and professional attitudes would be required to complete that job. Um, the micro form of job analysis could be task analysis, where if the job is too big, we might break it into different tasks and analyze each task to understand what the task is all about and what kind of knowledge, skills, and professional attitudes we require to complete those tasks. Certain preconditions of our learning, and again we need to understand what is learning in it in the first place. Learning in itself means that it is an organized opportunity for one to acquire the knowledge, skills, and professional attitude, so that there is a relatively permanent change in one's cognition as well as behavior, and which means that it should change one's way of thinking and way of doing certain things, in this case the job, and it should be permanent, which means they should not be going back to the old ways of doing things or old ways of thinking about the job. But we use the word relatively because it's only relative to the past that it is permanent, but in the future, obviously, if new things come, then we might need to change again. So certain precondition of learning would be, the first one would be trainee readiness, that whether the trainees are ready, whether they have the prerequisite experience or background and the required basic skills. So if it is a basic level training, we may not require any kind of previous experience or basic skills. But if it is an advanced level training, we might need trainees to have attended the basic training program before they can do the advanced training program. But along with that kind of trainee readiness, we also require trainee motivation, that they should have that motivation that they want to attend the training program on their own. And it should not be something that is forced. They should have a choice to attend. It should be voluntary participation. And voluntary participation creates that kind of buy-in, which is required for training, because if you force some people into the training room, it will not necessarily result in their improvement, um, or their willingness to attend the training program. And it should be relevant to them. It should really They should really understand that this is going to really contribute into my improvement in not only my job performance, but will also contribute to my growth of my career. And should also be self-set goals for training performance, which means, when we plan the training, at the planning stage itself, there should be an involvement of the employees who will be trained later on. Because when kind of identify, you are involved in the training need identification process or training need assessment process, your commitment to that particular training is that much more. And of course, they should it training should contribute into improvement of their self efficacy and mastery, or their ability to model certain problems and create solutions, or persuade in a negotiation situation. So in other words, behaviorally, or technically, it should really contribute into improvement of the self efficacy. Another very important aspect of training is transfer of training to the job, which means, how do we ensure that whatever employees learn, they're able to actually take it to the real job and improve their job. If it doesn't happen, then we say the transfer of training or transfer of learning is very poor. And that kind of, if it is poor, then all the money and all the resources that we have invested into the training is wasted. So we must we must ensure certain things so that the transfer of training is very high. One of them could be in terms of maximizing similarity of training and job settings, that the training, the setting of the training and the setting of the job have some similarity. It should not be so starkly different that, okay, we train the people, but when they come into the job, the context is so different, the conditions are so different, that people don't know really how to do that job, and they don't know how to apply what they learned in the training in the job scenario, right? Similarly, it should basically training should teach principles underlying the behavior which is required for doing that job. Uh, there should be a lot of practice in different scenarios, in actual job scenarios. There should be opportunity to perform what they have learned in the training in actual job setting, some kind of simulation. Um, we should provide a different kind of job aids and reminders, and of course supervisor support to training is extremely important. uh, Training broadly can be differentiated, or kind of two types. One is on the job training, and the second is off the job training. On the job training primarily means that training that is provided to the employees while the employees are still doing their jobs. And whereas off the job is when we take the employees away from the job and then provide training to them. Now, these are different training methods. For instance, role play, case study, game simulations, lectures, group discussions, reading, videotape, teleconferencing, computer-based training, and there can be more. You can see some of them are on-the-job training, where some are off-the-job training. Like role play, case studies are more off-the-job training methods. Game or simulation could be more off the job, but at times could also be on the job. But lecture is definitely off the job. Group discussion is could be off the job and on the job both. Reading self-study manual is definitely off the job. Videotape could be like a demonstration on the job itself. Sometimes it can be used also in off the job. Teleconferencing is definitely off the job. Computer-based training could be on the job as well as off the job. So many and other training methods are also there, but some of them, and we choose this based on what is actually required for that training program, on not on the basis of what we like, but on the basis of what actually is required. Of course, these days the use of technology is extremely high, and many kinds of technologies are being used in employee training. Of course, we brought computers into training a long time back, but that's ancient now because we have kind of virtual reality, augmented reality, and now of course artificial intelligence, which are being used in employee training. Uh, when we select training methods, we of course, as I said, it is based on what we need, what our needs are, and these could be some of the worthwhile items to consider. Cost, of course, is a major consideration. Now, what is the cost and what's our budget? Of course, if it's not in our budget, we can't really have that. Even if it is available, we may not be able to have that. For instance, we want to use augmented reality, but if it's too costly and we can't afford it, we may not still do it. We may do it without that. So, and of course, it also depends upon the size of the group, how many people are to be trained, what kind of facilities are available or what are required, what kind of variety or active involvement or active participation of the trainees are required, what are the expectations of the trainee, what they really are expecting from the training program, of what are the skills of the trainer. Does the trainer know how to use those technology in the training scenario, and what are their preferences? And of course, match of the method with that content. What content we need to deliver, or content we need to train people on, what kind of skills we need to develop, and whether the method really matches with that. As I said, that one of the most used training evaluation models is the Kirkpatrick model, and it basically has 4 levels of training evaluation. Level 1 is reaction, level 2 is learning, level 3 is behavior, and level 4 is evaluating the results. So in the level 1, we try to understand what is the kind of the initial feedback after the training program. So immediate feedback that is collected after the training program is basically the level 1, where we try to uh, have some kind of feedback sheets or questionnaires to collect trainees' feeling about the training program, training content, trainer, facilities, etc., etc. It's a useful data to have a quick understanding of whether the trainees liked the training program or not, whether they found it useful or not. But if we want to do a deeper analysis, we go to level 2, where we evaluate learning, where we try to look at a more pen and paper test or written test to our performance test to understand whether people have trainees have really acquired the knowledge that they should have been acquiring in the training program, and they are able to remember that. If we still want a deeper level of evaluation, we use the level 3 evaluation, where we look at whether the trainees have not only understood or learned the skills, but whether they are really able to apply in their jobs, and if by that application are they able to improve their performance in the jobs or not. So that's the level 3. And if we want to do an even more deeper level of evaluation, then we go to level 4, where we look at the evaluate the results, which means we look at not only the performance data of the employees, whether they have improved, but also the business results or the business outcomes have improved or not. For instance, when we train sales employees, not only we see that whether their sales have performance has improved, but overall sales of the organization has it shown a growth, or overall customer retention, whether it has shown a growth, or overall new customer addition, whether it has shown a growth. Now, for level 1 to level 4, we don't use all this level 1 to level 4 for all training programs. It's like having a CAT scan for your all employees, not required. So it depends upon the criticality of the training program, importance of the training program, and what kind of investments we are making into a training program. So obviously the ones which are on high investment and high importance go right up to level 4, but for others we might stop at level 3 or level 2 or level 1 depending upon what kind of priorities or what kind of importance the training program has in the organization. Uh, of course, we can use different kind of designs in terms of measurement. It could be one shot post test only design, which is train and then measure. We could measure first, train and then measure. So we will have a pre-training and post-training kind of comparison. Or we could measure more times than once before the training and after the training to have even more comparative and credible data over a longitudinal timeline. And we could also have measure train measure kind of which means we might have a control group aspect to it. So which means we one group we train, group we do not train, and we measure both of them before and after and see. And we not only have a before and after data, but also we have a comparison between control group and the training group. uh, to these 4 levels of training evaluation, the 5th level, or we can say an additional level, was added by a person called Phillips, who gave the concept of return on investment of training. And he said that we need to quantify the training improvements or the benefits of the training. And he used a formula which basically is on the screen, which is return of investment is net program benefits over program costs into 100. So it's basically a percentage where we tabulate all the cost of the program, convert them into monetary value. We tabulate all the benefits of the program and convert them into monetary value, and kind of create a net benefit percentage, which is the return on investment on training. Now, one of the wisdom in knowing this ROI concept is that yes, it definitely is helps in quantifying training benefits, but unlike ROI in the overall business scenario, ROI of training is not an absolute data, because it's very difficult to completely understand the benefits of the training program, especially when we spread it over the whole organization. So it's just an indicative data, it's not an absolute data. And second wisdom is, in all practical ways, all training data cannot be quantified. How much we may like it, all the benefits cannot be quantified. So just to understand that yes, it is used, but to also take it with a pinch of salt to understand that these are some of the limitations in terms of ROI